We're very fortunate today to have with us Melissa Clark-Reynolds, who is the founder, Chief Executive Officer, and dare I say, the alpha monkey of Minimonos.
Yep.
Melissa, thank you very much for talking with us.
Pleasure.
Could you tell us a little bit about Minimonos?
Sure. Minimonos is a virtual world primarily aimed at boys 6 to 12. It's for people who might be familiar with Moshi Monsters. We kind of call it a green Moshi Monsters for boys. Or I used to joke in the US, I'd call it Club Penguin meets the inconvenient truth. So it has a very strong sustainability, ethical basis to it, but we lead with fun, and it is a virtual world for boys and girls who like boy stuff. First up, we've got just over 500,000 members. We're growing very fast, and our biggest market is in the UK.
Wow. And when were you founded?
Well, I founded it in early 2009, and what we did is that I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a team of guys actually who mostly work for me over various projects, and I pulled them back together once we started. We went up initially just with a blog. We knew we were building a virtual world. None of us had built one before, and we've literally released. So we're very action oriented. We release and then test. So we put something up, see if the kids like it. If they do, we leave it up. If they don't, we're quite brutal at taking it out again. And we now release every week, and every week we really test to see whether it's working or not.
And I notice you have some sort of links into the real world, things like your thing with Sainsbury's at the moment, which looks very exciting.
Yep. So we've just recently in the UK we've launched a prepaid card. It looks like this, like an iTunes card.
Oh, okay, lovely.
And that's been launched in Sainsbury's. It's gone really well. One of the things, the other thing that we've done is that we launched a project this year with 50 kids to encourage them to become what we call eco-monkeys. So in our world, kids make a monkey avatar of themselves, and then they can play and hang out with their friends and talk, and we have a lot of parties. That's probably our most popular thing. And so 57 kids have now done eco projects in the real world, and we give them rewards in the virtual world. So a lovely kid from the UK went and waded into a semi-frozen pond while his friend videoed him on his iPhone, and he cleaned up all of the litter in this pond. Wow. And then we give him rewards in the virtual world for what he's done in the real world. Fantastic. So later this year we're launching with the National Geographic Kids, and that project will go out to UK schools, and the winning school will get a trip to the Eden Project. So it's very exciting for us to link those real world activities with the virtual world. But at the same time, we wanted to make sure it's not preachy, that kids don't feel like they are now learning a lesson about something. We just normalise sustainability throughout everything we do. Yeah.
It's absolutely fabulous. Can you tell us a little about why? How did you come to start this wonderful thing?
Well, I have children, and my youngest child is now 11, but when she was 3 she woke me up to tell me the wireless was down, and and she certainly didn't mean the radio, there was and so I realised that for her, she's grown up in a world that's completely wired. She has her iPod Touch, she's never known, were there cars when you were little, was there the internet, those things all happened long before she was born. And so when I started to look at what was available for children on the internet, and also what was happening on children's television, I really just saw how much content were marketing solutions for big companies trying to sell more what I call plastic crap to kids. So they're selling, even in the UK, in the UK, Moshi Monsters is now sold 20 million plastic figurines called Moshlings to UK children. Now, who is asking, where did they come from? Where will they go? I was really concerned about what's the production process. So for a plastic toy that's a petroleum product that is being made somewhere, I don't know where. Is it being made with fair trade practices? Is a child working in a sweatshop to make a plastic toy that my child might buy? And I didn't want that. I wanted to know that that there was a safe place for kids to go where they were not going to be bombarded with marketing messages, and where they started to ask some questions about what is the connection? Where does that go when I finished with it? When I take that petroleum plastic toy and I put it in a landfill, is it really going away, or is it just going to sit in Somerset somewhere for the next 1,000 years? What's happening to it? And I think, children want those questions. They want to know. And so I wanted there to be somewhere where that could all be debated. And long term, we will launch ethical toys. And it's an interesting thing thinking about, every toy that perhaps it can be repurposed into something else. My Sainsbury's cards, my goal for them is to have them in forestry, Steward Council certified card, but with seeds in them, so that children can plant the card afterwards, not that it goes into a recycling bin or something. And starting to think differently about cradle to cradle design all the way through. So even though we're a web business, we can really think about cradle to cradle, online and offline.
Fantastic. It really sounds exciting.
Thanks.
As an entrepreneur, somebody who's built this up and is still building wonderful things, can you talk a little about some of the things that have helped you on the way?
I think having a great team. My CTO and I have worked together for 10 years and I trust him with my life, so I think that ability to know that we can pull together when things are tough, and they do get tough, and they're tougher, they're tough. I've been blessed by the angels that I have who have invested in the business, and that the same. I see them as being on my team. I think a mistake entrepreneurs often make is they take money because they've been told to raise money and they get whatever money they can. And what you should look for is look for an angel who can actually help you. An angel who will be with you when it's tough and support you when it's tough, and emotionally as much as the financial. Make sure they believe in your vision, because I've seen that fall apart. So I think that's been good for us. Just we have a very strong learning culture on our team. So if you make mistakes, we just figure out how to fix them. And so we know that we're going so fast, we're making a lot of mistakes. And I think the only people who don't make mistakes are the people who don't do anything. So as an entrepreneur, you just have to accept that you're going to make mistakes every day, every hour, every minute, and just get on with solving them. So I think that's been really good for us.
That's fascinating. Lovely. And I guess the reverse of that question, some of the challenges in terms of lessons you've learned on the way.
I think so from an operational point of view, we put a lot of effort into social media, thinking, gosh, we're aiming at a young generation, they're online. Kids under 12 don't have email addresses. It's pretty hard to do some of that viral activity with kids who don't have email addresses. So we probably wasted quite a lot of money on that. Kids who are on Twitter, and we have like 2,500 kids follow us on Twitter, but they all have about 3 friends each, so they're not going to be a big viral marketing. So some stuff like that was really useful to learn. I think a sale's never done till the money's in, so we were raising capital and then at the very last minute it fell over, and we've recovered, but we were left quite high and dry for a little while, and I realised that until the money's in your bank account, the deal's never done, and you can't count on a deal until it's done, and that doesn't matter whether it's raising capital or doing a sale with someone. So get the cash and then celebrate. Don't stop until you've got that cash.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think the other one too is don't spend too long working on your product. Get it out to the customer as fast as you can, and I think people are often afraid to do it, but your customer will co-create with you. And if you have real respect for your customer, and I love our customers, right? If you have respect for them, they will help you build the product. And I don't mean that they do the colouring in or anything like that, but they really show us the way, and they encourage us, and they send us the most amazing fan art, and they help us build the product. And I think we've done much better doing it that way than trying to go, ta-da, here we are, we're finished, what do you think? Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's my tip.
I think it's one last question then. As somebody who described herself as a serial entrepreneur, If I had to ask you to give the sort of the 1 minute words of advice for would-be entrepreneurs, anything?
I have two. Okay. So one of them is, if you can imagine doing anything else, get on with that, because this is the hardest road possible. You know, it's like people who decide they want to be dancers or artists. I think it's a vocation in that sense. That if you can imagine, like the worst thing I can imagine is that I go broke and have to get a job. And, you know, when I lie in bed at night worried about paying the wages, that's my fear, is that I'm going to have to get a job. And so I think it isn't for the faint-hearted, and if you can imagine doing something else, get on with it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you decide you're going to be an entrepreneur, then hone that skill. See it as an apprenticeship that will never be finished, and I just learn every day. Every single day is a school day. And it's probably one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur, is that there is no day that isn't challenging, interesting, stimulating, learning. And if you're that kind of person, I think being an entrepreneur is perfect.
Fantastic. Melissa, thank you so much.
It's a
been
pleasure.
really interesting.
Real pleasure. I look forward to seeing some more.
One tiny query.
Yeah.
I presume adults are allowed to play at being monkeys as well?
Well, very interestingly, like we moderate hard, so we really prefer it that it is children, and yeah, we have lots of systems that keep adults out.
Fine, I understand. But at least adults could take a look at the website.
Oh, they should, and if there are any parents who want to know what the children are up to, absolutely.
Sure.
But our focus is children.
Great.
Yeah.
Melissa, thank you so
you're
much
really
for talking
welcome.
to us. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.